All right, happy Wednesday, happy 1 Million Cups Day. Welcome and thank you all for coming. We're here at 1 Million Cups Lincoln, where our mission is to create a space where startups, seasoned founders, and curious newcomers come to build meaningful connections, collaborate, and pay it forward. I started coming to 1 Million Cups roughly 15 years ago here in Lincoln and found it to be one of the most inspiring, supportive, empowering communities when I had my startup journey just beginning. So thank you all for coming here. Just merely being present to support our speakers is great, but please feel free to stay after to chat and ask questions and offer more support. 1 Million Cups happens throughout the Midwest. It was founded down in Kansas City at the Kauffman Foundation. Every single Wednesday around 8:30 a.m., theoretically, we are sharing 1 million cups of coffee, building our entrepreneurial community together. So thank you for allowing Lincoln to thrive. We've also got locations in Nebraska if you're traveling around, in Norfolk, I think Grand Island, and Omaha. So if you're traveling around and you're in a major city in the Midwest, look up a 1 Million Cups location near you. Thank you to our sponsors today. We couldn't do what we do and have this amazing event every single week without them. We've got Baird Home, who provides a lot of our donuts that we have. The Mill Coffee, always got to give a shout out for the free coffee that we get to have every Wednesday. If you come to 1 Million Cups on a Wednesday, you're welcome to co-work for free at Fuse on 8th and P down in the Haymarket. Let's see here. And our organizer team. My name's Sarah Spitzen. I'm our MC today, and I'm with Olson. Thank you, thank you. We've got Abby Bartholomew with LPED, On with Escape Lincoln, Dane with Bats to Rats, Amy with SCC, Dow with Merrill Lynch, Dave, who you're going to hear from today with Union Bank, Lindsay here with Don't Panic Labs, and Vaughn with Strat DM. So if you have any questions, if anyone's ever sporting a 1 Million Cup shirt or you see one of these friendly faces, you can always ask any of us for anything you need here. I'll leave this up for a moment. If you can be sure to check in after, and I of course left my sheet back there, but after 1 Million Cups, we do offer office hours. We have amazing representatives from our entrepreneurial community that are willing to talk to you for free and give you insight, if it's our Baird Home, not advice, but insight around some of your questions. We've got Baird Home for legal questions. We've got Dow Strita with Merrill Lynch for your financial strategy questions. We got Shen Shi for marketing and nonprofits. Vaughn is not here today. Typically, he talks about strategy. We've got, let's see, Quentin, of course. If you have MBDC questions and government contracting questions, he can answer those. We've got Dave here to talk about your banking needs as a small business owner and a startup, and any questions you have around software development. We have representatives here from Don't Panic Labs. Typically, Lindsay's running around, but she's out today. So please find one of our amazing office hours representatives afterwards if you've got questions in their area of expertise. Okay, without further ado, let's give a big 1 Million Cups welcome to Dave Vrbas with Union Bank and Trust, who is our first presenter today.
Let's talk about small business banking and how you can help us help you move ahead with your business. This is UBT's small business team. Some say the best looking team at Union Bank. I mean, it's debatable, but when people say that to me, I'm like, duh. So Steph, the one that's labeled Steph, she's our leader, feral as ever. She keeps us all moving forward, and we're all so engaged with small businesses, and we care so deeply about small businesses, which I believe is more important than how well we're dressed, which is always really good. Blanca is our multicultural lender, and Christine and I do small business loans, so does Blanca. And Delaney is our relationship assistant, and she brings the 6th member of our team to us every day because she's with child. So give her a round of applause for that. Yay! And I don't want to become the propaganda arm for UBT because our marketing department does that. We are housed at Union Bank Place, where we have the Small Business Pop-Up Shop, a small business center meeting space where hopefully some of you have used that. If not, definitely contact us and we'll tell you more about that. We have a community room. We host makers markets there. We also have speaker series. Last week we hosted Brian Ardinger from Nelnet, which was a great meeting, and Stories Coffee for quick meetings. And most importantly, we have the pop-up shop and all of this stuff. So the pop-up shop is so unique, and our small business team is kind of unique in the fact that we actually host this kind of stuff within our building. In addition to that uniqueness, we do small business banking differently. So it's rare for a local family-owned bank to have a dedicated small business banking team. We handle business loans, lines of credit, SBA loans, business checking and savings accounts, which I'll get into most of those in a little bit more depth and give you some pointers on how to successfully get those lines of credit and why, or business loans, and why you might need them. We try to act as private banking service for small businesses across Lincoln and the surrounding communities because we want to connect you with other services, maybe within Union Bank, maybe outside of Union Bank, that would benefit you as a business owner. And in that same vein, as we serve as consultants for your business and offer advice. We have various other resources that I mentioned before, like the Small Business Center pop-up shop and the Speaker Series events. The things we wish every business owner knew. This one could be controversial, but cash flow is more important than profit. Obviously, they're both important. Profit plays a pivotal role because, to use a sports metaphor, I guess, you're in the game and you're competing if you're profiting, obviously. You're competing against some of the best. Cash flow, however, determines whether you play the next game and the next game and the next game and finish the season. Cash flow is your sustainability. Cash flow is what keeps your doors open. The second bit of advice would be don't wait too long to ask for advice or help. Reach out if you have questions. We're always happy to answer them. Don't dig yourself a hole that you can't get out of before consulting us. And that underestimating startup costs is universal. It happens. Has anyone in here done that? You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to admit to it. It's fine. So making a successful start. When you're starting a business, you want to calculate your startup or project costs thoroughly before you begin. This helps you estimate profits, do a break-even analysis, make sure you ask for enough funding, but not too much, so you're not digging a hole there, and secure loans, and also attract investors, which we'll get into here in just a minute. Several funding options for small businesses would be your traditional loan line of credit. Most of those require collateral and down payments. The SBA loans, we have a really great SBA lender here at Union Bank, Jason Herlitsky. He's one of the best in Nebraska, so we're lucky that we get to work in tandem with him, and he just kind of leads us through those really well. Private equity, crowdfunding is one way to fund your business, and then grants. So obtaining a bank loan, this is the important part. There's many things that you can do as a small business owner as you get started or as you're in this for a while to be able to secure a business loan. And what specifically are we looking for? Well, we're a bank, so we want evidence that you're going to pay us back with interest, obviously. So one way you can show us that you're worth lending to, I guess, would be to have a solid business plan and a minimum of 3 years of financial projections. Your personal credit history matters because you'll be a guarantor on a small business loan. We don't use like a business credit bureau or anything like that. Your personal credit matters. And often there's a down payment required or collateral. If you're an existing business, 2 years of your business tax returns, and this is important, it's so much easier for us to do things if you show profit. And I know that sucks because you have to pay Uncle Sam, but it also makes it easier for us to lend to you. Personal credit history obviously matters, and so does collateral. So managing your business finance. The first thing you want to do is keep your checking for your business and your personal life separate. Don't let them intermix. Have your income statement and profit and loss done up that shows revenue, expenses, and profitability. Helps you weigh the strengths and weaknesses of your business decisions faster. And your balance sheet should show a statement of assets, liabilities, and capital, and give you a snapshot of your financial position at any given time. And then, not to beat a dead horse, Profit versus a loss on your tax return matters in lending. Okay, understand your finances, review them regularly, ensure that someone can manage your accounts receivable so that you're getting paid for the work you do. Accounts payable, available cash, your bank reconciliations, and your payroll. And then partner with a banker, accountant, and attorney that you trust. The banker's obvious. I mean, let's do this. So your annual financial review, you want to look over what interest rates you're paying. Do you have money set aside? Again, cash flow. If so, is it earning interest? If it's sitting in your checking account, you have tens of thousands of dollars there, look into an investment account that gives you a little bit of return on that money. Check your personal credit score. Make sure you're making extra payments on your loans if you can. Pay down your line of credit if you have one. Oh, and then know which loans to pay sooner rather than the others. Update your personal financial statement regularly, consider your profit first, and review any fees that you're paying. And then our other UBT services for small business are treasury management, that includes fraud prevention, ACH and payroll services, remote deposit capture, cash flow tools, and many others. We offer employee benefits and retirement plans, HSA, FSA plans, trust services, and private banking services. So now you get to ask me your burning questions, but with one caveat. If you give me a stumper, I'm going to look at Steph with very doe-eyed, and she'll answer for me. So, Todd.
Can you explain to us the difference between a business plan and your strategy and how you're going to run your company and grow your company over time? What was the goals when you set up a company? Can you explain the difference between the two?
I'm looking at you, Steph.
Can you elaborate just a little bit more on
A business plan consists of, did you do your competitor market research? They have nothing to do with the nuts and bolts and how you're going to actually build the strategy behind your company and how it's going to achieve its mission goals. It is purely about outside stuff. Marketing, what the landscape looks like for the business, kind of maybe it might have target audience in there, which would go into your overall strategy, but it's not going to have, okay, we're going to have these kind of policies. We're going to have these standards and how we deal with our customers. Our goal is we're going to start out with this service, but we have plans to make our own products here in 5 years.
So what we look at the business plan for is we're using your words to present the loan-to-loan committee. So we see business plans, 50 pages. We're not reading those with a fine-tooth comb because there's just no way. So we're looking for high-level overview of what you're planning to do or what you've done. So we're not looking for every single thing that if you go out to the internet and look at the business plan, we're looking at what your business looks like for you in your words. So it's all the meat that really all the data that you can put together across the United States for these types of businesses doesn't really matter to us. We can find financials for industries all over the US, but we want to know specifically what your business is doing. So we don't have a specific model that we require in a business plan. When we're looking at it, we want the meat and potatoes.
Okay, I ask because I feel that a lot of people would start businesses, but then they're told you got to have a business plan, and then they go and look up online, and it's that 50-page document of absolute. This doesn't apply, and they totally.
We want to know your business in your words. So we call it a business plan, but it's really your plan, and you indicate what the importance is on it. What we're trying to understand is anyone can put something on a piece of paper, but we have to decipher who can actually run that business, not just on paper, but actual. And so that's what we're trying to decipher, and what is important to you will help us kind of determine on the right path, or do we feel that, we might need to not approve the loan, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
And it shows you've done your homework as well.
So some of the clients that we've had that are seeking funding can't meet debt service coverage ratios above 1, right? They don't have a standardized paycheck to rely on regular income because they're not pulling money back out of the business. How does Union Bank approach those particular circumstances in terms of supporting small business and lifting them up from a funding standpoint, or can you, because of the regulations that you're subject to? Maybe you can. I don't know the answer to that.
Go ahead.
Well, we want to make good loans, so not everyone should be a business owner. So if they're unable to get the margins, we're going to look for extra cash in, so more of a down payment. we don't want to set someone up for success, for failure right away.
Sure.
So if they can't meet the debt coverage ratio, which they're just typically putting a number on a piece of paper, so we don't know with a new business if they really will meet that. Some people say they'll meet it 3 times the debt coverage ratio. Well, we know that's probably not typical on a startup. So we're doing the best we can. What we're looking for is liquidity. So if they don't have collateral, they don't have cash in, those sorts of things, it doesn't really matter what's on paper. Probably not the right time. And then maybe it's not now, but later. So when we can't approve a loan, we're not just saying, sorry, good luck. We're giving tips, suggestions, thoughts for future. And we have many people who come back at a better time and will actually say thank you because they really weren't ready to start.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the consulting piece too, is setting them up for success later. Chin-Chi, go easy on me.
Two questions. The first one is that we know that many immigrants and refugees, they don't have personal credit history. So do you have any advice on how to go about that? And then the second question is, do you fund nonprofits? Do you give loans to nonprofits? And do you have separate criteria?
Yeah, actually, I'll answer your second question first. We do a lot of loans and lines of credit for nonprofits. I think across numerous departments, we do that at Union Bank. And I don't think the criteria is any different from like what a business loan would be.
Not do nonprofit lending, but Union Bank actually has a specific commercial lender that does nonprofit lending.
Yep.
So we have an expert in that area.
And she just stepped into that role, which is great. And then for multicultural lending, obviously Blanca is there to meet with folks who are new to the U.S. and need that extra assistance and either financing or opening accounts and all of that good stuff.
So we can help them.
We can help. We do have different ways that they can start building credit in the U.S. So with a secure credit card, you normally put money down and you can start building credit that way. Typically, we normally say about a year, and then we can graduate you to like a regular credit card, and that can help you with building credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. A friend of ours actually took advantage of the pop-up shop, and she used it very successfully.
Who's that?
Cassie.
Oh, yeah.
We love Cassie, yes.
And she's wonderful.
Got a store now.
Yeah, yes. Super proud of what she started off with and was able to transition into. So thank you guys for helping her with that.
Absolutely.
You guys kind of already partially answered my question, but I'm we'll say an independent insurance agent, and I don't pay myself any more than I have to, and I kind of listen to my accountant's advice and how I take money from the business and put it into the household, which does, I think, have some marginal negative effects on my personal credit, but it bolsters the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have any recommendations on, instead of just paying myself a couple $1,000s a month, in air quotes, should I actually just be paying myself an honest wage and forego the rest of that stuff? Or is it better for the business that I continue doing what they call a draw or a loan back to myself?
I would follow your accountant's recommendations. So we can use personal income, we can use the business income. At the end of the day, we have to understand how the business and the personal debt's going to be satisfied. But for tax benefits, I would recommend staying with what your accountant says. Because at the end of the day, it's all reporting up to you anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have time for one last question. All right, if no one's got it, I do.
Oh gosh.
Thank you, Dave. What can we as a community do for you?
Okay, so I have a weird
Do the
request.
same
actually.
thing. I'm not going to give this to you until you actually say
Fair.
it.
I did that last week. But fun.
Yeah.
So, you can refer folks to us for consultation, any of that. That's a big ask. But I think my bigger ask right now is that as you're planning outings for the summer and going out to eat, that you head down to O Street and spend your money with the businesses who have the street torn up right in front of their They're restaurants because they're struggling right now a little bit, and they could really use the revenue. So that's my ask. Get out and eat downtown.
Perfect.
Specifically on O Street where it's torn up. Yes, right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Dave. Right. Let's give Ben Kuspa with Nebraska Department of Economic Development a big warm welcome.
Thanks for coming out this morning. My name is Ben Kuspa. I'm with the Department of Economic Development. I'm the Business Innovation Act Program Manager. We've got a small team that has been working on this program. Been around since about 2012 is when we kicked off. The statute passed in 2011. I'm just going to go over our programs, where they kind of sit today, and kind of give you some guidance if you're interested in accessing this program. So. The intent of the program was to assist small businesses through the Valley of Death, and we're mainly looking at innovation, smaller percentage of businesses that are looking to build a product that will be scalable, net export of the ecosystem of the Nebraska area, not serving just local clientele, bigger swings. These are things that are a little bit more risky. So we're building things that are technology based. All these things are, but we also have room for manufacturing. A lot of ours are focused, and I'll go over kind of our grant programs that have different focuses in there. We kind of have a summary here. We support SBIR, prototype grant, academic R&D, seed investment through Invest Nebraska, and then we also do some micro lending some years with different entities where we provide capital and technical assistance funding for different entities that are supporting small entrepreneurs, small businesses of all sorts. The academic R&D program is something that sometimes people are not aware of, that they really should be aware of if they're working with the university or interested in accessing the university. So it's for applied research and development for companies that are working with a university or college, any university or college within Nebraska. So that can be a for-profit, private, that can be a university system. I'd say the lion's share of this goes to UNL as an R1 research institution. So we probably 80% of our historical awards have been in there, but we've also done projects with Creighton, UNMC, UNO, UNL, UNK. It's up to $100,000 from us as a matching grant with a 50-50 split. So we can reimburse 50% of costs for working with the university. If it's ag related, we can do 80% of that project. It is best for businesses with research needs in like bioscience, engineering, agriculture, or we can also support businesses that are tech transfer. I have two examples down there. Virtual Incision was started in, I think, 2006. So it's been around 20 years now, which seems kind of crazy. But that was started by a UNL mechanical engineering professor. It was stood up. They've scaled up. It's a surgical robot. If you're not aware of it, a very compact version compared to the Da Vinci model. They're in market now, but that's a tech transfer project where that was started within the university, and they received some funding to assist with their FDA trials because they were a tech transfer, and that business had a licensing agreement with UNL. Daro is a company that is working out of the biotech connector, or was. I'm not sure if they're still there, but they are doing swine disease identification and prevention within hog barns. And they did a lot of work with the university to get that up and running. SBIR, STTR grants, Small Business Innovation and Research, Small Business Tech Transfer. We have a kind of a role within that where we will help people apply for this. This is a federal program. There's 11 agencies. I think there's $6 billion this year for SBIR across these different agencies. All these agencies put out topics, solicitations is what they call them, and they say, give us your best pitch. It is a very competitive process to assist with that. If you have a solicitation that matches one of those, something that your business does, and you have a good chance of being funded, then we can provide up to $5,000 for you to hire a grant writer or do a technical review of your application at the application stage to the federal program. It's kind of weird to get a grant, to try to get a grant, but it's definitely something that is trying to get more applications for those federal programs. If you receive a phase 1 or phase 2, you can be considered for a matching grant from us. So Phase 1 awards from the federal government do not require a match. They're usually fully funding your research activities, but those research activities are limited. Those are typically around $250,000. We've seen anywhere from $40,000 to about, I think, $300,000 is where it caps out at. We can match 65% of the federal award up to $150,000 for a phase 1. Or if you receive a phase 2, which is up to $2 million, you could potentially receive up to $300,000 from us, 65% of the federal award up to $300,000. You do need to be doing 51% of the work within Nebraska in order to qualify for that. You need to be based here, have a strong footprint. And it is best for businesses in hard science. A lot of bioscience, a lot of human health, NIH, UNMC things. Government contracting is another route. Department of Defense, Department of War receives about 50% of the funding historically, and sometimes they're just looking for people to make things. So if you're an engineer minded, sometimes those solicitations are out there, and sometimes they're relatively straightforward on what they're looking for. That might be something that you bolt into a battleship. That might be something that is useful to serve a warfighter. So that is something that is open. Agriculture is obviously big within Nebraska, so USDA is another route. But we've also seen, and they also have a rural development track, so that is also for product development within smaller towns or ecosystems where you're not typically served in a major metro area. So seed investment I'll touch upon really quick. So Invest Nebraska runs that program on our behalf. We give them authority to make their own funding decisions. We're a final checkoff on that. But it is an equity investment program. A lot of our grant programs are intended to tee people up to get people to either to market or get them ready for investment. This is targeted, the state funding that is put into this program is targeted at the seed investment. So we identify angel, pre-seed, seed. And when I say seed, if you're a software company, you probably need about 10K MRR to get to access a major investment round or a first significant investment round. It can vary depending on what you're doing. If you're in for example, if you're human health, it definitely is hard to have revenue at the point where you're raising a seed round. But I would encourage you to talk directly with Shelby or Dan or Ben Hohensee over at Invest Nebraska if you're interested in accessing this. We also provide them some funding to provide guidance. So even if you're taking any sort of equity investment, I would encourage you to talk to some VCs and understand what you're getting into. So if you're doing a friends and family round, you should probably be using straightforward investment instruments like a safe note at that stage. I'd highly recommend that you check on that before you take any money from anybody, your uncle that may have some sitting around or something like that, just to make sure that you are on that cap table can be something that would be appealing for investors at a later stage. It is up to $500,000 per investment. The median check size is about $250,000. That's about standard. And round sizes around here anywhere from maybe $500,000 to $2 million. Seed rounds gone up to probably $5-10 million, but usually you're talking follow-on investments at that stage. So that's kind of what we're seeing is like $1.5 million to $2 million for an initial seed round. Again, due diligence is conducted by Invest Nebraska. They make the decision. They have a committee that rules that, and then it comes to DED for the kind of a final checkout. What most people know about the BIA is the prototype grant. I've been the prototype grant guy for a long time. I've handed it off, and now I'm the prototype grant guy again, so it just keeps coming back to me. It's a matching grant program of up to $250,000 to provide for product development. So we're looking for businesses that have a need to build something, and they don't necessarily have the financing to do that. So that can be software, or probably 70% software, that can be hardware, that can be a combination thereof. It is open to any business with less than 500 employees, but we're really focused on those small businesses that are looking to access venture capital at a later stage, we also have priorities to serve all of Nebraska, so we also serve some smaller manufacturing operations in more rural areas, things like that, where maybe they wouldn't be going a venture capital route, but it's still going to be a net benefit to the state to increase employment and revenue within those cities or towns. We can reimburse up to 2/3 of costs. on a reimbursement basis. So, and then 80% for value-added agriculture. A couple of our more notable investments, Marble Technologies out of Innovation Campus. I think they moved up to Omaha as their headquarters, but they landed there. They're doing computer vision for meat pack-off, and they're kind of building other products within the meat processing space. Company Cam, I think people are aware of, started in 2015, 2016, received a prototype grant to kind of get them off the ground. Also received some follow-on investment through Invest Nebraska and had a major investment round last year. So our applications for all programs, I should say not just the prototype grant program. Sorry, I stole this slide deck from a previous presentation. But they're open typically July 1st. We actually opened them Monday. So academic R&D, SBIR, and prototype are directly administrated by us. Nora and Brad are in the back. Anissa's also back there. She's the back-end person. If you've ever received a prototype grant, she keeps everybody on the straight and narrow. We will take applications from July 1st every year and on an open application basis. So we review projects every 2 weeks or thereabouts and try to get people an answer until all our funding is allocated for any given year. We do require a business plan. We don't require a business plan for academic R&D, but we kind of would like a summary of what you're doing. So business plan for prototype grant, evidence of matching funds, project budget that is supported by some sort of documentation. So if you're contracting with a dev shop, you should have a quote or 1 to 2 or 3. If you're doing internal work, you should have an estimation of hours. If you have employees, if you have material costs or anything you'd like to purchase, we'd like to know what those are and have a kind of a ballpark view of that. If there's any significant purchases, we definitely want to get those cleared by us as well. We also have short application form. We use the application grant management system that flows through to the back end. So it's a little bit clunky. We're trying to clean it up and work within the confines of what we have, but we've cleaned up changed our application process just a little bit for this year, where the budgeting is a little bit easier to do on that side of things. Your business plan or your pitch deck, when we started this program, it's written in statute, we need a business plan. We can accept a pitch deck if it's explanatory. I think that that's the model that most startups are going with at this point. But really it's focused on the problem. What is your solution? How does your product solve that problem? Who's your competition? You should be truthful about your competition, honest about that. We sometimes see a competitive matrix where people say, I do everything better than everybody else. And I'm like, that's just not true. You don't have to be completely novel. I wouldn't say we want innovative products, but if we were only funding things that were truly new, we probably wouldn't make more than a few handful of applications a year. So we want competition within this space. What I would say is that when you do that competition or the market analysis yourself, be honest about how you're comparing yourself to others. Are you competing on price? Are you competing on features? Are you building a new software product that is replacing one that's 20 years old and it's maybe something that is in market, but it's just not working for their customer base? Your pricing strategy is important as well. That's an assumption. Everything's an assumption at this point, but you should have some answer regarding that. And then also who your team is and why they're qualified to do it. So those are the basic things. We also suggest if you have any sort of validation of customer interest, I would strongly suggest you do include that with your application. So letters of interest from potential customers, people who say, yeah, this does solve a market need. I don't see anything in the market right now. I would love to pilot this when it's ready. I don't expect letters of intent. I would like to see letters of interest or some sort of validation. That carries a lot of weight with our reviewers. So that's supplemental materials. We try to review projects about every 2 weeks and get an answer within 3 to 5 weeks for most people, depending on kind of our backlog. If you receive an award for any of our programs, not just prototype, but you receive an NOA and you can start incurring costs as of that date. We can't look back prior to the date of award. We'll draft contract, route it for execution. That's Anissa who does all of that hard work for you. The grantee then submit those costs and does the reimbursement request process with their documentation. So if you're working with a contract development shop like Don't Panic Labs, you may say, well, I'm going to pay $15,000 for this payment. I'm going to then submit that invoice and proof of payment to DED. DED would then reimburse $10,000, so on an ongoing basis, until the grant is fully drawn down. We do expect one final report. We had some interim reports baked into the programs earlier. We didn't find a lot of value in that, so we just asked for one report. And honestly, it's really easy, so please don't neglect to do that. We do hold our final payment until we get that report. And then we survey people every few years to get some answers on kind of what the status of their business is as well. The grantee needs to remain within Nebraska for a minimum of 3 years. That means that if you voluntarily relocate the business out of the state and don't have a footprint here, there may be clawback. There are clawback provisions within the contract. If the business fails, just doesn't succeed, there's no clawback. If you have a voluntary exit event where operations cease within the state, that would trigger a clawback. If they move out of state, if they retain their presence, then the contract follows that person. It's kind of rare for that to happen though. So you can contact me if you have any questions, or you can contact our team. We've got everything on our website there, opportunity.nebraska.gov/BIA. So if you go to the different program pages, look at what you're interested in, and you can reach out to either myself, Nora, or Brad to discuss your project. We can provide some guidance at a pre-application stage. Also, I didn't mention it, but our applications are kind of an open application process. So once you send an application in, we're going to take a look at it, and then we're probably going to reach out and ask you some questions about that and provide an opportunity. If there's some gaps in there, just because you kind of missed the mark on what the application is, you can change it or modify it, and then then we lock it in and send it to our review committee, which is an internal group that looks at these projects and makes the funding decisions. So, ask questions before and during the application process if you're interested. And I think that's all I have.
So we have time for just a couple quick questions for Ben, but he will be here after for questions as well.
Ben, I mentioned, you didn't mention anything about the proof of matching funds for prototyping that that might be relevant to folks in this room.
Yeah.
I'm saying enough. Do you want to expand on that part?
Yeah, we started asking for evidence of matching funds at the time of application. That's always been a gap. Because it is a matching grant program, we want people to immediately start as soon as we notify them, and typically these contract windows are only 12 to 24 months. So we want them to be able to hit the ground running. So we don't want people applying and saying we're going to be raising funds after we get the grant. We've experienced that, and what happens is they often don't raise those funds. So you do need to provide some sort of evidence of matching funds that can be personally funded, like a bank statement that shows you have the funding. If you're taking friends or family money, if you have a letter of intent from an investor, like a singular trusted investor or something that says of his lands, loan, any other matching like federal or non-state funded grant would also be acceptable as a proof of match. So if you have questions about the matching funds, let us know.
Time for one more question.
I'm interested in hearing an example of a prototype.
Well, my favorite is probably Grainwavell. So they're a company out of Aurora. They're now in Omaha as well, but that's Chad Johnson and his son Ben. And it was literally a father and son team that were wanted to solve the problem of people that climbing grain bins and get entrapped within grain. So a lot of people die, they get stuck in there and the corn comes down. And people would go in and walk the corn, so they decided to build a robot. And it's not something that other people have considered it, but we took a risk on them. I mean, it was. I think we did about like a $40,000 grant for them just to build the first iteration of that robot, and it was mostly contract services for engineering to build pieces and like just parts. So they were going to Menards and buying nuts and bolts and like ordering things. Hardware is hard, but that first iteration got them to the point where they actually accessed an SBIR grant, which really accelerated their path to market. They got a USDA one, and then they got some major investment. They're up to about a dozen people, I think, maybe 8 to 10 people in Omaha. on like their 11th iteration of the robot, and now they're working, they're in market, and they're doing a lot of service work as well as selling the robots in that area. So
Another quick update with them.
Yeah.
Also working with NASA to develop.
That's right.
On the moon.
Yeah,
Do things for NASA.
yeah.
Awesome.
Great on the moon.
Awesome. If you have more questions for Ben, please come find him after. But our final question at 1 Million Cups, what can we as a community do for you?
Yeah, I guess get the word out, I think, is just tell people that there are programs that can help if they have a funding need within the product development space, or if they're willing to work with the university. Send them our way. We'd love to people to share the idea and then let us share the messaging, because we do get some people who say, come in and say, this person told me that I would be perfect for this. It's like, let us tell them whether or not it's a good idea, but send them our way, and we have an open door policy. We can find 30 minutes for almost anybody to talk to them about their project.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben, for presenting. Okay, we have a few announcements before we wrap up today. All right, so a few community events going on this week. We have tomorrow morning, please join us at Crescent Moon Coffee for open coffee. It's great conversation with a lot of great people. We typically are there from around 8 to 9:30. The last Friday of the month at Boiler Brewing, we have Founder and Friend Fridays. It's again an open conversation format. You go to Boiler Brewing the last Friday, LPED covers the tab for your drink, and just come talk, grow community, and have a great time. We also have the Mo Money, Mo Problems Women Brunch Series on Wednesdays. We've got some dates up here. You can also find them. I know they've got all of the event invites on Facebook. It's down at the Nook underneath the escape room. And then tomorrow we've got bail for banker, accountant, legal, insurance, and legal. Go get a lot of great information, meet others that can help you answer questions through Grow Nebraska, but specifically in the banker, accountant, insurance, and legal space. Any other community announcements? Yeah.
So this Thursday morning at 9:30 at the Constellation Studios, the Lincoln Arts and Culture Exchange will meet and have meetings.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other community? Oh, Bill.
I don't see Matt Sikowski here, so I'll plug this for him. Next Tuesday, May 9, in the space here, the speaker will be Chad Michael. He's going to give a presentation of the talk he gave at 8 o'clock.
Nice.
It was actually a really good talk. We believe that there's a change happening in Arkansas as they move from directing software to supervising. So
Okay. And next Tuesday, what time here at Don't Panic?
it's 5 o'clock here.
5 p.m.? Okay. Randy.
Hello, story. That's why I asked Ben for a story about his favorite thing. And we're having the Storytelling Festival in October, and we're looking for some good stories. I'm sure you've got some stories. All right, maybe I'll send you a link to it.
Okay, don't forget to check in. You can't, if you missed it earlier, you can check in on the little table tents we have. If there's any coffee left, please feel free to drain the vat back there. And if you not only have a story to tell, you can come talk to Randy, but if you'd like to present on your business, please apply to present with us. Any one of our organizers you see here today can answer any questions you have about what it is to present, or you can go to 1millioncupslincoln.com and there's an apply to present button on our page. But thank you all for being here today, and please come back next week. We have Kate Engel and Quentin presenting? Perfect, and Quentin. So we're going to hear about Innovation Campus as well as MBDC, rounding out, continuing our business support series for July. So thank you all. Have a great day.